Once upon a time, a man drew a little mouse, and his animated vision enchanted children of all ages. This summer, that man will be spinning in his grave.
Oh my God, why?
Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers present
Dude, Trey.
South Park.
This is gonna be the best movie ever.
All right, South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. Okay, all right. So, I enjoy South Park. I really do. It's quite a unique animated show. I mean, especially if you watch the 6 Days Till Air documentary, where it's them literally like each episode takes a week, and then they air it. Where typical animated shows take a lot longer than that. Like, I believe Family Guy, I think it takes a full year to do an episode of that. Where with South Park, it takes a week. So that's quite incredible. And the fact they've been able to continue it this long for, I think, 26 years, or 27 years, is just quite incredible. But, South Park started out and, people didn't know what to really make of it because it was so oddball. And then it came during a point in the 90s when animation was changing. It was evolving. It wasn't just like the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and Jetsons and Flintstones, like that Hanna-Barbera era. It was changing. So like in the 90s, we got this, Simpsons started in 89, Ren and Stimpy, Space Ghost, Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, Family Guy. We had all these different shows that were just pushing the limits on what animation can do, and that animation doesn't have to just be for kids. And South Park was one of the ones, towards the end of the decade, was going, yeah, let's just, let's do stuff that not everyone's afraid to talk about. Let's just be absolutely ridiculous. And, let's somewhat offensive as well. So, yeah. So South Park's not for everyone, but, it's the 25th anniversary of the movie. So let's talk about it. So I actually just recently they did a 25th anniversary screening of it where it was 2 days. And I actually went and saw it on one of those days. And man, couldn't have talked about it couldn't have been with a better audience, because the audience that was there knew not just every single lyric of every single song. They knew every word of dialogue in the movie, to the point where it just be just a normal, just kind of talking scene, and then there's somebody just saying the dialogue, and I'm like, wow. And just laughing every 5 seconds, and then every song, everyone around me was singing it, and I'm not gonna lie, so was I. Because I am a fan of South Park, and especially the movie. So if you don't know this movie, the South Park boys, Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny, sneak into a Terrence and Phillip movie that is rated R, and they start swearing. To then Kyle's mom then decides to wage war against Canada, to then, because of censorship. So, yeah. And then during this whole ordeal, if Terrence and Phillip get killed off, then Satan, along with his lover Adam Hussein, then come out of hell and rule the earth. So a lot is at stake here. So, yeah, very South Park. But I will say this. Every time I see this movie, it's still entertaining. And I'm not a big fan of musicals. So if a musical comes out and it actually catches me by surprise, the songs aren't too annoying, and I actually like what they're doing, then, I'm totally game with it. So like I like my musicals in kind of a different fashion. So like something like Willy Wonka, I think works quite well. It's very dark, but that's part of the thing that I like about it. Something like Sweeney Todd. It is a gory rated R musical, and it works. Even something like Anna and the Apocalypse, which I didn't think I was gonna like, but then I was watching him going, oh, so this is a musical with zombies in it. And it's funny, it's gory, and you know what? I'm actually having a good time. This movie would kind of be in that same boat where I'm like, okay, the songs, they're not annoying and they're really catchy. And what's funny is that when it was me and a couple of my friends went and saw it for the 25th anniversary screening, and one of them hadn't seen it, and the other one had seen it, but not in a long time. But I was the one that knew, like, like pretty much a lot of the lyrics. So I told him, like, just a heads up, we're going to not just be surrounded by people who are going to sing the entire time, but one of those people, you're just going to look to your left and it's going to be me. So just FYI. So I actually saw the movie before I started watching the show, which is kind of strange. And, you can definitely tell that, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they came up with this idea about censorship because the show was so different, radically different in many different ways, that it was like a lot of censorship was had to be applied to the movie. So, or even to the show as well, but yeah. And then I found out that originally the movie was going to get an NC-17 rating because it had, they have a rule where if you have 300 swear words, you get an NC-17. So to avoid that and get an R rating, they have 299. So they even said, like, I think we had like 305 or something like that. It was like a little over 300, and a lot of them they just cut out because they were just like, yeah, that doesn't need to go there. That doesn't need to apply there. That's just saying it for the sake of saying it. So, that's very South Park. That's very South Park. And so the movie has an R rating. So, very sneaky. I still like the movie. It still looks great. The fact that it's kind of a mix of like CGI, because I think they said after the first episode, every single episode of the show is done in CGI, is done with computers. And the fact that this was 99 that they did this, and it still looks great, especially, seeing it on a big giant screen was great. And it still looks great. It still holds up. Much like the 99 Mummy. I saw that on its 25th anniversary screening, and that still looks great. So it's really cool to see, like, a lot of these 90s movies still hold up. And South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut is definitely one of those. It's, all I have to say is that it's very South Park. So, there's a lot in there that you're probably going to be, like, in awe. Where, like, how did they get past this? And there's a lot in here where I'm like, yeah, how did they get past? Like, how did they get past the censors? How did the studio not say no to this? This is just nuts. But, if you do like South Park, there's a lot to enjoy about the movie. So, personally, it's a great for me. Because it's a lot of fun, But like I said, if you are a South Park fan, there's a lot to love about this. If you're a musical kind of person, there's some merits to this as well. Now, if you can't stand swearing, you should probably just avoid South Park altogether. Or just, probably avoid rated R movies anyway. I don't know. But, so there's a lot in here to enjoy if you are a South Park fan. And if you haven't seen this movie and you call yourself a South Park fan, you probably shouldn't be calling yourself a South Park fan. But, that's just me. But, it's still entertaining and it's still funny. Like the screening I went to, everybody was laughing every 5 seconds, and they were people that watched the movie constantly. So it's still funny. It still holds up. The songs are still catchy and absurd, but it's very South Park. So you know what you're getting into.
On June 30th,
Throw the switch, Mr. Garrison.
Hey, I'm supposed to be anonymous.
it's not just another day in the park.
Son, we accidentally replaced your heart with a baked potato. You have about 3 seconds to live.
South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Tell them we'll have punch and pie. We're not gonna have punch and pie. My bill will come if they think we have punch and pie. Ooh. We've got to see this movie, dude.